All right, we're finally here. To all our viewers, welcome to the show. Before we proceed, let me introduce ourselves. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Pia. We're your host. Welcome to FA Podcast. This podcast is dedicated to all sorts of stories and discussions about our company, Frontline Accounting.
For those who don't know what Frontline Accounting does, FA specializes in hiring accountants and other non-accounting roles worldwide. With this, our team gains valuable international experience, all while being competitive in the global market while here in the Philippines.
Speaking of FA, Hannah, let me ask you a question. What is the best thing you like about Frontline Accounting?
Well, for me, the best thing I like about Frontline Accounting is that our culture is very diverse, and this fosters very much the collaborative environment that we have.
Well, I totally agree with you. The people at Frontline are very accommodating and welcoming. I can attest to that. The team that we have, we don't have to worry about reaching out to them. It's not very hard to reach out to anyone in Frontline, even with a manager. So that's one thing.
So, but today we won't be focusing on the company history or journey just yet, but we'll focus more about remote hiring and onboarding.
That's right, Hannah. Remote hiring and onboarding is not a new concept. It started way before the advent of the internet, collaborative softwares, cloud computing, and video telephony. However, it started and it gained a lot of attention during the pandemic in 2020.
Yep. And since then, in the Philippines, hybrid work or remote work has become a norm. There's actually a study from Seek Asia that highlights the pros and cons of such setup. The benefits include increased productivity, cost savings on equipment, and improved employee retention. On the other hand, challenges such as time management, team relationships, and technical issues also arise.
That's right, Hannah.
Yeah, so at Frontline, we've adopted both the hybrid and the remote work setup. As our team grew, remote operations became essential to our clients and staff's workflow. Here. So how about for you, Pia? What are some of your personal experiences in working from home?
Well, honestly, this is not the first company I worked with that I was able to work from home. But I can say that this is the first company that I work from home without anxiety. Because the first company I worked with, I had to wake up with anxiety working from home. But this time, I think it is more comfortable for me to do the work at home instead of, the company before. It is somehow refreshing to have this work from home setup with Frontline. They value your work and life balance. The work is such a great ground for us to train, to have a personal training as well. So, yeah. How about you, Hannah?
Well, for me, this isn't also my first company that I work for that is in either a hybrid or remote setup. But perhaps the difference for me would be the other experience would account more about the pandemic remote work. So it was more of the forced setup that we had to work from home, but part of me wanted to go back to the office. So when the situation eased a bit more, we were happy to go back to the office. And I believe it's really good and it resounds well with me here at Frontline because we have a hybrid work environment. So we get to meet our team, we get to collaborate with them in person, which is a very big help in terms of creating that harmonious environment within your team.
With that said, Hannah and I are going to share some valuable insights about remote hiring and onboarding at Frontline Accounting. Well, I am in Frontline for about 2 years now. So it's not a long time, but I've had a fair share of moments in recruitment hiring.
So what's your core memory so far in recruitment and in hiring candidates?
Well, the first struggle that I had when I was new was the decision paralysis. In recruitment, it's very crucial to have a sound and unbiased judgment. And for me, when I started, I had to learn all of the standards that we have to have for the clients and for the applicants as well. So I struggle with doubting myself and all of the interviews that I have to do, struggling whether to pass or fail the applicants because I am not sure whether it is the standard that we have. But I overcome that. And then the next thing that I can remember is, having to talk to different kind of people during the interviews. It is very fulfilling for me to be able to see them sign a job offer, knowing their situation. And I think that is one thing that you could say an advantage of remote hiring. because you give them an opportunity to work at home, knowing that during the interview, you know their situation. Some of the applicants share about having to take care of their children, having to, work alone for their family. And it is somehow a good feeling for me. I think not for me, but also for the team. How about you, Hannah? I know that you've been here in Frontline just at the same time as me.
Well, actually, I was a rehire at
Mm.
Frontline. So I initially started way before pandemic, and both as an employee and as an HR, I experienced all face-to-face interactions with the team. The company was still quite smaller at that time. Everything was face-to-face. We all fit in just one space in the building. But as a rehire, I encountered and saw the growth that Frontline experienced. And I can see how much it has changed, especially with the pandemic, with the remote work, with the hybrid setup. Wherein before we were full-time on-site, this time we're more up into hybrid. Some roles are fully work from home, right? So it has become a challenge to Frontline, especially in terms of HR onboarding, because there are times that while we do our best to make everything seamless, there are times there is still these small technical issues that staff encounter on their first day.
Definitely.
So that makes it difficult for them to set up for their orientation day, for them to make sure their access are all smooth. Whereas before, if they encountered it in the office, we get to easily come and jump to their station, help them out. But with the remote setup, it's a challenge because some staff live way far away in the province, and all we can do is just to call and wait for IT to be able to assist as well, because they're the ones who can best troubleshoot the situation.
It's totally right.
So how about for the biggest challenges you've encountered in hiring remote employees?
Well, honestly, it's just the same thing as onboarding. We all suffer from technical difficulties. Well, the first thing that you have to encounter during an interview is, the audio issues.
Yes.
You will be seeing them setting up their cameras, and they struggle with their headsets.
Yes.
And you have to ask a couple of times, can you hear me? So all of the technical difficulties, some of them are actually doing the interviews outside. You can hear a lot of background noises. So that's one thing. That's something that we cannot avoid because, this is remote hiring. So sometimes the applicants feel that it's okay for them to do the interviews anywhere, but of course it's not.
It is a struggle to listen to them when there's a
I
lot of
know.
background noise.
And sometimes you have to reschedule the interview when the internet is not cooperating.
Yes,
For the applicant,
Yep.
and also for us, sometimes we struggle with that working from home. But we overcome that. And another thing, well, this is funny because I've never experienced having to be ghosted by someone.
Oh.
But
Okay.
in recruitment, I know, in recruitment, this is the first time I was ghosted. We call it no call, no show.
Yep.
But not only that, because sometimes we chase, I don't chase.
Yeah,
Honestly, we don't chase, but in recruitment, you have to chase because you know that they are a good applicant.
Yes.
So as much as possible, we give them multiple chances, not a lot of chances, because you know their worth when they give feedback to you. But when they don't reply or have to chase them, you just let them go.
Yeah.
So that's one thing as well. And another one is, well, we have very limited interaction with them because
Yes.
on screen you don't know their behavior, you don't know their full personality as well. So only limited things, communication skills, although you can also see some or hints of the culture fit for a team. It is very hard to really know the whole personality of an applicant.
Yep. Unlike face-to-face interviews, you can get to see them full, from head to toe. Yeah, you can gauge more of their personality as well. So with that, since it's also a struggle, especially with no call, no show, and then you're not yet that sure or 100% about the personality because you can really gauge it even from when you can see them. It's not enough for a judgment, for the sense of character that they have. So how do you effectively assess a candidate in remote hiring?
Yeah, well, one thing that is needed in recruitment is active listening.
Mm-hmm.
Because for us, we have to multitask during an interview. You have to take notes and you have to listen, you have to talk, you have to be reminded of what questions you have to ask. So, active listening is one thing that you should have.
Yes.
And also, you have to make sure that you observe because it is very limited screen time. I mean, very limited interaction with them. So you have to make sure that those times, you make sure that you observe,
Yeah.
not only with the behavior but also with the way they speak. So that's one thing. And recently have some improvements with our process. So we added some new assessments just to gauge their written communication skills, new aptitude tests just to make sure we know where to improve on when it comes to the applicants, where to probe for the next candidate or for the next interviews. And another one is we don't do only one interviews.
Yes.
So another set of filtering.
Mhm.
They go through phone screening, paper screening, initial interviews, and the assessments.
Mhm.
And then after that, they do another interview. So it's not just one process for us. So yeah, I think that's one.
Well, that's a really good insight that you've provided in terms of recruitment. And there's a lot of those that you shared that are not seen from the side of the candidates or from outside perspective. But now that you've shared it, I can resonate that I guess these are struggles, even with onboarding for HR. You know, so even when we do the new hire orientation on their first day, so we do Zoom calls with them and make sure that they are able to grasp everything that we share with them. Initially, we had a more hands-on approach pre-pandemic and even when after the pandemic, you know, with the remote onboarding that we have. But aside from that, recently we've also revamped our onboarding process. So this makes it a lot easier for HR as well. So we're happy that we have this new technology that we can utilize with the onboarding.
That's definitely what I'm going to be asking.
Yep.
I know that we've had some new processes in
Yes.
onboarding. Are there any tools or any technologies that you're using as of the moment for the onboarding?
Well, for the technologies, the very basic one would be, of course, we have to make sure they have their laptop with them, for especially for those who are on remote setup. So those who are on hybrid or full work from home, and make sure they have the full equipment like their headset and make sure everything is working. So apart from the basics, we do also have our systems now. Unlike before, we used to talk for hours and hours in front of staff to orient them with the policies, the processes, what's the culture like in Frontline. But nowadays, since we had this new project recently executed and rolled out to the team, so this helps us save more time and energy, yet at the same time, we can make sure that the staff are receiving quality orientation. So this has also helped them take their trainings at their own pace. So it's not like before wherein they have to fully listen every time, all the time, and then if they miss out something, then you know they might have this blank areas in their notes. They can't go back and take notes again. But with the recent projects with the new onboarding system that we use, they can go back to their videos, they can take down notes again, and this has also helped them memorize or at least get to be more familiar with what we do.
Definitely. Well, I can attest to that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I contributed
Yes.
to the LMS, which I am proud of.
Yes.
But honestly, I can see the result of the LMS because we
Mhm.
recently have a new team member
Yes.
and we watched him do the LMS. It was very effective, time efficient, to be honest. I was so surprised because the first day he was in our team or in a room an hour after he was onboarded. So I was so surprised. It was very efficient, time saving for sure.
Yes, and you get to see them on the same day that they've
Yeah.
started working with Frontline. Unlike before, we usually take the whole day only for orientation, and then their teammates here in the office or wherever could not meet them that much yet, except for when we introduce them. But right now, at least they get to be more immersed with their team.
And you know, Hannah, I mentioned about our new hire. Well, we get to meet him in person.
Yep.
How is it different when dealing with the onboarding of the employees working from home on a hybrid setup?
Well, for those employees working from home or on a hybrid setup, perhaps what we do as HR is we touch base with them. So after the onboarding per se or the orientation trainings that they receive through the LMS, we make sure that we call them, make sure that if they have any questions or concerns, we are approachable. We also have our communication systems already fixed or set up for them as well. So we do our best to make sure that they feel welcome and that at any time they have any questions or concerns, they can approach HR as opposed to being scared of HR, which I believe is a stereotype here in the Philippines. Yes. So Pia, since we've mentioned that we both feel that the support team is highly approachable, though we're both from support team, but as part of the recruitment team, how do you feel that, or what is the best part for you in your role, and how do you measure? How could you say that your hiring, remote hiring, and onboarding is a success?
Well, for me, I am someone that has to have someone to talk to every time.
Yeah.
As you know, I am very talkative. So the role of being a recruitment assistant really fits me because I will have to talk to the applicants every time. I have to schedule 4 to 5 interviews a day. And it is somehow fulfilling for me to be able to talk to a different kind of people every day. And when it comes to the success in hiring, I hear a lot of feedback from the applicants. I receive text messages, emails saying thank you, that the experience that they've had with Frontline and the recruitment team is very commendable.
Yes.
You would be receiving a lot of feedback from them that, oh, you are very approachable, very accommodating, you are not hard to chase when it comes to the status of the applicant. So that's one thing. And we hear a lot of feedback as well from the clients that they love the first hire that they've had with Frontline and they would love to have another one. So that's one thing as well. I feel like that is something that would say a result to the candidate experience, also the recruitment process, how good it is. And I know that the clients also give feedback.
Yes, yes. Actually, I agree with what you shared that staff reach out and say thank you, because it does happen to us even in the HR side as well. Even during their tenure, whenever they're happy, they're successful in their role, there are these people who approach HR and say their thanks for helping out, especially when they have concerns or questions. And same goes with clients actually. So there are times we have our client catch up. So we do it via call, sometimes in person when they're here in the Philippines, when they go for a visit with their team. And it's really nice and very fulfilling when you hear the clients say that, wow, you have a wonderful team here in the Philippines and they really love to have another one, or they really love to grow their team here. And I think a testament would be the long tenure of the employees here. Some have already even exceeded the 10-year mark. And as well as the big teams that we have. These teams wouldn't grow that big if they're not good all together as a team and with the presence of their clients as well. So it goes hand in hand.
Definitely. Well, I love seeing the emails from HR celebrating anniversaries, and I see the people that I've hired. Not only that, but you can see how long they've stayed in Frontline. You get to see their testimonies.
Yes.
What their favorite thing is working in Frontline. So yeah, how about you? I know you've been here in Frontline pre-pandemic and after pandemic. What do you like the most working for your role?
For me, I guess in my role, since I'm part of the support team, because I'm part of the HR team, so I get to see the growth of the employees. I used to do the face-to-face onboarding, and I can still recall the faces of some of the staff I used to had onboarding, their day one. Pre-pandemic and up until now, they are still here, and I get to see their faces during the events, especially during team trip and Christmas party. Sometimes around the office as well, and there are some of those I can see that are also rehires. So I believe that says a lot about the culture we have here. Employees wouldn't really want to go back and be hired again in the same company if the company was not doing well.
Definitely. I agree with you. We encounter a lot of applicants that they hear a lot of feedback from the current hires of the company or the employees of the company, and they would be telling us, oh, I was referred here by my friend because they say that the culture is really great, they value the work and life balance, and that's something that makes you feel like, oh, it really is something that is happening in Frontline. So I always tell them, thank you for the feedback. And it
Mhm.
is really happening in Frontline. We really value our people here. So,
Yes. And to think that's unsolicited.
right.
So we get it very organic. Yes.
Definitely.
Hmm. Yep, so I guess that's it.
Good
This has been a really
experiences.
good talk. It's really nice to hear
Definitely.
more about your experiences, and
I
I hope
know.
we get to have a lot more of episodes. So that's it. And we hope that you've gained valuable insights into what Frontline does, who Frontline is, and into the remote hiring and onboarding that we do here in FA.
If you're interested in joining our team in Frontline Accounting, you can check our careers website and other social media accounts. Once again, I'm Pia.
And I'm Hannah, and
And
this
this
is
is
FA
a
Podcast.